I want to talk about the Jerry Jeudy contract extension again on today's show because the fan base is just split on this. We're also going to talk about some other stories as well, so stick along for it. But for any new subscribers, really quickly, we use these Bernie heads as a scale of believability when talking about some of the rumors we hear during the offseason. They range from 0 Bernie heads, which is fake news, all the way to 4 Bernie heads, which is believeland. So my original plan for my video on Tuesday was to talk about whether or not Jerry Jeudy could be a long-term piece because I saw they restructured his contract, slapped some void years on it, had me thinking, why have void years when you can just extend him and actually have him play on your team during those seasons that you have cap hits already for the player? So I originally gave it 2 Bernie heads, and then about 2 hours later, Jerry Jeudy got the contract extension, which is where I want to pick things up here. Because for starters, it's not exactly crystal clear what the extension is, right? The original reporting was it was a 3-year, $58 million extension, right? And an extension is years tacked on after the final year of your contract, which was this year, 2024. So he would be under contract for 2025, 2026, 2027. Now, Ian Rapoport also said it was $41 million guaranteed. So I usually look at contracts as subtracting 1 year and applying that to the guaranteed money. So a 2-year, $41 million contract, which pays him over $20 million. That's a big, hefty contract for a player that I don't think has played at that level, right? I don't think you're going to find anyone disagreeing with that. Jerry Jeudy so far has not looked like a $20+ million wide receiver. The average is $19.3 million, and that puts him in 18th amongst all wide receivers. Fast forward a little bit, and we got a little bit more of breadcrumbs on the Jeudy contract. So Brad Spielberger from Pro Football Focus said base value over the new 3 years is $52.5 million, not the 58. There's incentives that could push it up to 58. $17.5 million annual average value, stronger than I would have expected, to be honest. So there are a lot of different ways to attack and discuss this extension, right? I think a good starting point is, has Jerry Jeudy played well enough through 4 years to believe he is someone worthy of a 3-year, and whether it's 58, 51, or the guaranteed isn't even 41 because it includes his 5th-year option this season, so it's just $28 million. Whatever you want to call it, is he worthy of an extension? And I think Jerry Jeudy has shown some really good play through 4 seasons with the Broncos. Has he been what Denver thought he would be, 15th overall? No, I think you can say that there were some underwhelming years in there. Has he been a bust? No, he hasn't been a bust, guys. He's been a good wide receiver. Now, I've seen this number tossed out that he had 972 yards in 10 games. I don't know what numbers they're looking at, but the ones on screen, at least for me, read 972 yards in 15 games. So if someone can enlighten me as to where the 10 games came from, I would love to know where the origin of that number is. But what Andrew Berry fell in love with was the end of his 2022 season, right? Go back 2 seasons ago where he ended the year on a hot streak of 523 yards and 3 touchdowns. If you want to conceptualize that a little bit easier, you take that stretch right there and you prorate it over the entire season. We're talking about a guy with 1,400 yards and 8 touchdowns. So yeah, the extension, if he lives up to that type of play, is going to be an awesome deal for Cleveland. Now, if it is $19.3 million, that puts him 18th. If it's around 17, like Brad said, it'll drop him closer to 20, 21, 22. For me, my take on this whole thing is that let's say Jerry Jeudy has an above-average season. Let's say he has 1,050 yards and 6 touchdowns, and he's a free agent. What kind of contract was he going to get in free agency next year if all went well for Jeudy, right? Not like a 1,500-yard, 12-touchdown year, but an above-average, 1,100 yards, call it, round up, 6, 7 touchdowns. I think he'd probably get about $21, $22 million a season, somewhere in that neck of the woods. So if it is $19.3 million, well, you're hedging $3 million on him having a great year and you saving $3 million over 3 years, so $10 million in total contract. If he doesn't have that great of a season, you've given him a pretty big extension that you are rolling the dice on. I just don't think that the savings, if he were to get $21 million, outweigh the possibility of this being a bad contract. I had no issue with Jerry Jeudy just playing out the final year of his contract. If he has a great year, awesome. You re-sign him. If he doesn't, you're not on the hook for 3 more years. And whether it's $28 million or $41 million guaranteed, that's still a good chunk of the cap space pie, right? I know people will love to go, it's not your money. What do you care? It's not my money. But it is my team's cap space that's being given up here. So when sizable investments are made in players, yeah, I do want to explore whether or not it is a good contract to give out. And for me, I personally would have just waited, right? I do think Andrew Berry is a great GM. It worked out with David Njoku, but let's not downplay this. Let's not act like this is not a gamble by Andrew Berry. Some gambles pay off. We're going to say all gambles pay off? If that was the case, I would leave the casino a winner every single time. And I don't. So for me, I would have just played it out the final year and wait and see how the market shook up in 2025. But Andrew Berry has long, liked Jerry Jeudy. He has pursued him before. And I have good reason to think Jerry Jeudy will have a good season too. I'm not saying Jerry Jeudy is going to suck next year and this is going to be an awful deal. No, I just think you could have waited and wait and seen how much more it would have been before guaranteeing that kind of money before he plays a snap for you. I'll also add, when you give Jeudy this contract, sure makes it difficult to find a way to bring Amari Cooper back. Not impossible, but definitely not as easy, right? I think we can all agree that it just got a little bit more difficult for Cooper to return, who's only played, the best football of his NFL career the last 2 seasons. And if he continues to play the way he has the last 2 years, this upcoming season, well, some of your cap space for the wide receiver room, especially if you want to bring back Elijah Moore, has already been eaten up by Jerry Jeudy. So let me know, do you like the contract extension? Yes or no? I do think it's a very important note to add. We need to know the exact extension, right? Does the $41 million guaranteed include his salary for this year? And if that's the case, it's $28 million guaranteed, and then it's like a 2-year, $28 million extension, which is $14 million a season, and that is way different than $19 million, and I would love that. So I got to wait and see exactly what the numbers are, but if it is 3 years, $58 million, like the original reporting from Ian Rapoport said, I don't think it's so much about it being an overpay. I just think that you're not going to be saving yourself a ton of money if you were to wait and let him play out the year. And all you've done is just put yourself in a potential future predicament of, oh boy, we might have done what the Broncos did with Russell Wilson, which was give him an extension before he plays a snap for us. And now we're looking for a way out of it already. Not as dire as that, since he got way more money than Jeudy, but I just think, like I said, why not wait? All right, let's move on here. Did Maurice Hurst leak that the Browns are playing in Brazil? I wanted to talk about this yesterday, but the Jeudy extension happened, so kind of got pushed back 24 hours. It's fake news. No, Maurice Hurst did not correctly leak that the Browns are guaranteed to be playing in Brazil. If you missed the story, let me catch up to speed. Maurice Hurst was on the Cleveland Browns, TV show network, whatever, and on that he said, we're playing in Brazil this year. What he meant to say was, I've read a lot of reports and rumors that we might be playing in Brazil. Not that we're guaranteed to be playing in Brazil, which people ran with as, oh my gosh, Maurice Hurst got the schedule. Maybe players get it before they don't. And he accidentally said something he wasn't supposed to. Now, there is still a chance the Browns play in Brazil, but if they do, it's not because Maurice Hurst said last week or a few days ago that the Browns are playing over in Sao Paulo. But the Philadelphia Eagles are the confirmed home team on that Friday of NFL Week 1 down in South America. And I think we can confidently rule out the Cowboys, Giants, and Commanders because we hardly ever, if ever, see divisional matchups go overseas. So then you got the Browns, Falcons, Panthers, Jags, Packers, Steelers. Panthers and Jags are already playing overseas. Carolina and Germany, Jacksonville in their second home of London. So now you've got 4 teams. Browns, Falcons, Packers, Steelers. So in some ways, there's a 25% chance Cleveland plays in Brazil NFL Week 1 because they are one of the 4 teams fitting the criteria. Now, you can make solid arguments for all 4 of these teams having NFL intrigue to play in Brazil. Atlanta just added Kirk Cousins. They want to toss him into primetime Week 1. Maybe. The Packers, they come off a playoff win. Do they want to have an exciting Week 1 matchup between 2 teams that made the postseason last year? Same is true for the Browns, but maybe they want to go with an NFC matchup. Possibly. Same goes for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, all 4 teams have a decent stake into where there could be interest of them playing in Brazil. There has been rumors that they believe the Browns are that team. And if it is the Browns, I go back and forth as whether or not that is good for Cleveland. But as I stand right now, I'm going to say, F it. Let's play in Brazil. There are pros and cons. Pro, if you play in Brazil, you're playing on Friday, which means you basically have like a mini bye before Week 2, right? You have an extra day of rest before that second matchup. So if you win Week 1, you go into Week 2 with a little bit of extra rest. If you lose Week 1, you've got some extra rest to rebound. That's a pro. Con, you're playing in freaking Brazil. Let's not act like it's going to be a simple Delta Airlines trip down to Sao Paulo and the Browns are going to be ready to roll. They struggled going out west last year. We're talking about going to the Southern Hemisphere. Don't you see how that may be a bit strenuous on some of the players? It's true for both sides, but the Browns definitely suffered when they had to go to the Broncos and the Rams last year. So, con, you're going to Brazil. That could be a bit of a headache logistically for the team to plan for and for the players. Another pro, you don't have to go play the Eagles in Philadelphia, a very difficult place to go play in, where the Eagles have been really good at home under Nick Sirianni. Con, you have to play in Brazil. Like, I'm just not going to act like that's not a sizable hurdle to clear. The team and the players, they're athletes. You know, they're the most competitive people on the earth. They don't care where they play. They're going to show up ready to go in their mindset, feeling like they can go out there and play their best. But it is true every time teams go to London, one team seems to come in with a better plan than the other. And the team that comes in with the better plan tends to win. So the Browns have a good plan to go down to Brazil. We'll have to wait and see. So do you want to play in Brazil? Oh, one more con potentially, I'll say. The Browns have a concert, Rod Stewart, I think, and I can't remember who else it is, on the Friday or Saturday before NFL Week 2 at Cleveland Browns Stadium, which unless they play home on Monday night, they'll likely be away for Week 2. So now you're talking about a really big road game Week 1 in Brazil just to come back and go back on the road again. That's a really tough start to the season. All right, third and final story here I wanted to get to. Deshaun Watson, is he throwing this week? So it's for Bernie Heads. I'm filming right now Wednesday afternoon, and I originally planned on filming this Tuesday afternoon. So we kind of lost a little bit of the timeliness of it, but in case you missed it yesterday, Watson, according to Mary Kay Cabot, can begin throwing as soon as today/yesterday, Tuesday. His quarterback coach, Quincy Avery, and David Njoku are currently with him in Los Angeles. Now, he underwent surgery on November 21st, so it has been a little while since that surgery, but at the same time, you get surgery on your throwing shoulder, there's a reasonable expectation you could miss more than just December, January, February, March, and we're at 4 months right now, almost to the day, actually. Now, he has been in LA, like I said, pretty much since the surgery because that's where the doctor who performed the surgery is based out of. So that's where he's been doing his rehab. Ken Dorsey and Kevin Stefanski came to visit him 2 weeks ago. So he's had people popping in and whatnot. But I think it's actually crucial that Deshaun Watson is 100% by training camp. He's got a new offensive coordinator coming in, a brand new install that I would like to see him hit the ground running at Greenbrier first day of training camp. Not sitting on the sideline and joining after the second or third preseason and only starting to get the rhythm and pick up the motion of what the new offense is after the year begins. Deshaun Watson historically has had slow starts in his NFL career. You look at his career stats through the first 4 games of all of his seasons compared to games 5 through 8. He's 7-12 in games 1 through 4. compared to 12-5 through games in 5 through 8. So he already has a tough start every single year, pretty much of his NFL career. Let's not compound that by having him miss training camp or part of it and be really behind in learning this new offense and getting into a rhythm with Jerry Jeudy and maybe another receiver they add in free agency or the draft. So what is your confidence level for Watson in 2024? Scale it 1 to 10. I expect him to be a limited participant during OTAs and minicamp. He may not even be a participant since it's mostly just cardio work out there. But by training camp, I sure hope that Deshaun Watson is ready to roll. And I think this is a bigger story than we've given, myself included, enough attention to. Like, he suffered an injury on his throwing shoulder. He got surgery, and he's already throwing 4 months later. That's really positive news that he should be 100% by the time August and September are here, which is why I'm at a 7. I've been one of the bigger Deshaun Watson believers in this fan base, but if 10 is he's going to be an all-time great quarterback this year, go back to his 2020 NFL passing leader season, and 0 is he's going to be an absolute flop, it's going to be a disaster, and the city is burning, put me at a 7. Because the last time we saw Deshaun Watson play against the Cardinals and the Ravens, he put up pretty good numbers. Like, people love to use different stats to drive their narratives, but I don't know, the quarterback I last saw play when he was on the field threw 432 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was perfect in the second half to knock off the best team in the AFC last year, the Baltimore Ravens. So yeah, sue me, but I'm optimistic that Watson can kind of pick up where he left off, but he needs time in training camp to continue meshing with the offense a little bit, since he has just been so absent, unfortunately, through his 2 years in Cleveland due to a suspension and then injuries. Let's not add on to that. Hopefully he's ready to roll day 1 of training camp, if not sooner. All right. I know I've made you guys pretty much watch the length of an Office episode. So which card do you want to go with, Colin?
In support of Deshaun Watson, I'm going to go 4 of...
Yeah, 4 is like the most... I think that's the most commonly picked card right there, 4 clubs. Which that's got to be a good sign. I sure hope so. I'm going to go with the 7 of spades. 2 of clubs. 2 of clubs. All right. I will let you guys get back to your Wednesday. We will sign off. I think we're going to have a second video coming out today, so check back on the channel in a few hours.